"Behold your mother," said Jesus on the cross to his disciple John. "Make her known to the world" was the message of Pope Pius IX to the Redemptorists when he gave them the miraculous picture of our Mother of Perpetual Help. Our Lady is well known all over the world under this title of Perpetual Help. The Perpetual Novena is one of the great means to bring the people closer to her. For the past 125 years, it has been the fervent endeavor of all the Redemptorists to make her known to the people in different parts of the world. As an effort to make this task still more effective, we, the Redemptorists in India, have produced two 16mm films, one titled Mother of Perpetual Help and the other titled Behold Your Mother. Now we are happy to present these in video so that the life and message of our Mother of Perpetual Help can be taken to every home. At this moment, we gratefully think of all those who generously helped us in this effort. We pray that our Mother of Perpetual Help and the Divine Son may bless each and every one of you. Praised be Jesus and Mary.
In his mother's arms. Then prophetically in his dreams he sees a vision. Saint Gabriel comes towards him offering iron nails and a dreadful cross. Saint Michael appears and holds towards him a sharp lance and a sponge dripping bitter gall. The child, too young to face such terrors, calls his mother's name and clings to her in fear, snapping the latchet of his little sandal. Our Lady, like any other mother, comforts him and takes away his fear. But her face is sad, for she knows the great price her Son must one day pay for the redemption of men's souls.
Known as Our Lady of Perpetual Help, this icon has for many centuries been renowned and loved for the miracles associated with it. Who painted the picture, no one knows. Its origin is lost in the mists of time. Yet the legend of its powers have echoed through the centuries, gathering momentum as miracle follows miracle. Something of the strange history of this picture can be found in the archives of the Vatican in Rome. At the beginning of this century, a parchment was found written in Latin and Italian. It was a copy of an older document which had once hung in the Church of St. Matthew in Rome. It tells us nothing of the artist who painted the picture, nor of its place of origin. But for a brief period, it lifts a veil and shows us something of the icon's history as it passed from hand to hand. The story commences on the rocky island of Crete about 1300 AD. In an old church somewhere on the island, the icon was then enshrined, and was already greatly venerated. One evening, a certain merchant of Crete observed the church carefully from a distance, and finding it was deserted, decided to enter. The thief approached cautiously. Only his beating heart would have broken the silence. It must have been very still within, just a few candles burning, a smell of incense, and dark shadows everywhere. For a moment he must have hesitated. Should he take the image? In the candlelight, her eyes must have looked straight into his. But greed, the desire to possess it for himself, won the day, and in a moment the picture disappeared from public view. Grey days followed, not only for the little church robbed of its treasure, but also for Crete and people everywhere. The merchant clutching the stolen icon slipped from the shores of Crete to join a merchant ship that was about to sail to Rome. Out at sea, a storm began to rage, so the legend goes. As it grew in intensity, great waves hurled themselves on the tossing vessel so violently that the sailors began to despair of their lives. Not knowing that the miraculous image was hidden on board, the men prayed to God and to the Blessed Virgin to save them from death, and their prayers were answered. The fury of the waves abated, and at long last the ship eventually reached its destination. But the storm and its warnings were forgotten. The Via Appia that leads to Rome has not changed much through the centuries, and the merchant must have indeed felt blessed as he rode into Rome with the stolen Madonna under his arm. He had survived a terrible storm and reached his destination, and no doubt the Colosseum and the columns of ancient Rome seemed to smile at him in the sunlight, promising him that all was well. But all was not so. As the days passed, the merchant felt a sickness creeping over him. Slowly it took hold of him, draining his strength. At last, on his deathbed, he begged a friend of his, a Roman, to carry out one last request. Among my possessions, he whispered, I have a holy picture which I have stolen from a certain church. I know I am dying, and cannot therefore take this picture where I would. Do you, therefore, I beseech you, take it and place it in whichever church you deem suitable. I promise, the Roman told him, and hearing that, the merchant died. After seeing the picture, the Roman no doubt meant to keep his word, but he was a weak man, and greed is a powerful thing. His wife The Blessed Virgin appeared in visions to the Romans several times, and admonished him not to retain the icon, but place it in a more honorable place. But he did nothing about it. Then again she appeared and told him clearly that if he did not restore her picture to some church, he would die an untimely death. This truly frightened him, and at last he decided something should be done. He begged his wife to take the icon to a church before some calamity overtook them. But the woman only expressed astonishment at his words. After all, she said, we are not pagans. Other people keep sacred images in their houses, pictures of the Virgin and of the crucifixion, and nothing awful happens to them. So how can some calamity happen to us? You must have been dreaming. And so the Roman was again persuaded. And he paid for it with his life, but still his wife would not listen. Then the Virgin appeared to the Roman's daughter and told her, go to your mother and say, Holy Mother of Perpetual Help tells you to take her from your house, otherwise all of you will die soon. The girl was frightened and obeyed. In panic, the girl told what she had seen and heard, and too late the mother realized that it was true. It was her obstinacy that had caused her husband's death. To save her family from further grief, she at last decided to part with the beloved icon and to place it in a church. But once more greed intervened. A nosy neighbor, though knowing her sorrow, asked what the trouble was, and on hearing the story of the icon became very interested. As soon as she saw the painting, she too longed to possess it for herself. You deceive yourself, the neighbor sneered. The Virgin Mary is in heaven. Do you think she will trouble to concern herself with a mere painting? How credulous you are! If you are so easily frightened, I advise you not to give it to a church. They may think you have stolen it and ask awkward questions. The best thing you can do is to give it to me. I am a good Christian and not afraid of idle rumors. The lady in her sorrow reluctantly agreed. Again the picture had changed hands, and again it was shut away in a selfish household. But it brought the new owner no joy. Suddenly the woman felt an illness stealing over her. At first she could not believe it was the power of the painting that made her stagger. But then it began to dawn on her that she had brought this illness on herself. Desperately she prayed to the Virgin for forgiveness. On promising that she would return the picture immediately, she began to recover. Then, reluctantly, she kept her word. The Virgin appeared again to the Roman's daughter and told her to make her mother place the picture between the Basilica of St. Mary Major and that of St. John Lateran in a certain church dedicated to the Holy Apostle Matthew. The mother readily obeyed and arranged with the Augustinian fathers to place the icon in that church. Led by a member of the order, noblemen carried the icon in procession to its chosen altar. came to an end its dark period. At long last, the Mother of Perpetual Help was enshrined in the Church of St. Matthew the Apostle on the 7th day of March, 1499. 300 years passed, and many miracles were worked. But in 1798, Napoleon attacked Rome, and on the order of General Messena, 30 churches in Rome, including that of St. Matthew, were leveled to the ground. Miraculously, the painting was saved, but for 68 years it disappeared once more from view. Then a Redemptorist, Father Michele Marchi, who as a boy had seen the miraculous icon in a private oratory of the Augustinian Fathers, made known his knowledge to his confreres. On December 11, 1865, the then Holy Father, Pope Pius IX, decreed that the holy painting of the Mother of Perpetual Help be taken once more to the site of its former choice, now occupied by the Redemptorist Fathers, the Church of St. Alfonso. Make our Mother of Perpetual Help known to the world. These were the words of Pope Pius IX to the Superior General of the Redemptorist Fathers. And so it was that with these words ringing in their ears, the Redemptorist Fathers set about the task of bringing the famous icon into the churches and homes of people everywhere. The first copy of it was taken in 1882. It had traveled to distant Australia. And in 1908 to the Philippine Islands and Singapore. Finally, in the year of grace 1938, the first Redemptorists, led by Father Hickey, brought a copy of Our Lady of Perpetual Help to Ceylon and to India. This small church in Bangalore was the starting point of Mary's journey into the hearts of the Indian people, and devotion to the icon soon spread throughout the country. Soon people of every community, every language, thronged to the novena centers of Our Lady. Far and wide, people felt the deep attraction of Mary. She too began to feel a new response, a new, warm and typically Indian love. It seemed as though the Indian people instinctively understood the message of this great picture. They could feel Mary with them in their troubles. So they came to her simply and humbly, either to a church or to a wayside shrine, and in return she helped them and sent them on their way with a new lease of life. Here is a woman begging Our Lady for help, not for herself, but for her husband. Help my husband, she implores. He has not been to the sacrament since our marriage day. Mary, bring him back to God. The prayer is answered. Here at last the man comes to church. Not an easy thing to do after so many years. But he has seen something in Mary's eyes that gives him new hope of a better life, a new insight, a new power to cast out sin and the misery it has brought him. has returned to his God. What happiness there will be in that home. What quiet joy and peace. Mary is the mother of the risen Christ, Christ risen from the dead, as in the case of this Indian priest. Some years ago, he underwent a very serious operation which proved a failure. In spite of endless efforts to save him, the time came when the doctor was forced to say, "It's no use. I fear it is the end." Preparations were even made for the funeral mass and burial. But he had prayed to Mary, "If it is God's will, show your power in me. Show the power of your risen Son." And so it was that after many anxious hours, to the amazement of all, he recovered. Today, almost 10 years later, he is alive and healthy, much to the surprise of the doctors. He does a full day's work as director of St. Lawrence's orphanage in Nagarcoil. To the boys who love him and to all who know him, he is a living symbol of the power of God through Mary. Mary is the mother of life and the giver of joy. Young people, many of them, come to Mary to ask for guidance. Always she gives them the power to be happy, the power to love. To this young girl, she will give the beautiful grace of married love, of devotion to her husband, her children, and to a life dedicated to the building of a pure and happy home. To another, she gives a different grace. The grace to leave all for the powerful love of Christ, the marvelous chance to serve all people devotedly. To Prema and Rani, she gives yet different graces. To Prema, she gives the strength to travel to remote villages, to teach poor children to read and write. More, her very life radiates the message of God's love. In India, where education is the key to success, Prema does a real service, caring for those who have no one to care for them, being a second mother to those who are illiterate. All because she has experienced the motherly influence of the Mother of Perpetual Help. To Rani, our Mother of Perpetual Help has given the spirit of dedication which urges her to ease the pains of the world, to heal the sick, comfort the suffering, and restore peace to those who pay the terrible price of unhappiness for a life wasted in sin. This man is dying. He has led a life of sin, and even now he refuses to return to God. His broken-hearted wife begs him to repent, but in vain. As his dying eyes see Mary's compassion, he realizes that all is not lost, and at the last moment he turns to God. careless moment, a speeding car, and a young life is snuffed out. This mother grieves for her only son killed on a dusty road. With such a loss, what comfort can there be? But Mary also lost her son, not at a crossroads, but on a wooden cross, and her eyes see all. In this moment, her presence brings comfort when it is most needed. Do not fear, do not cry. You will see your son again. For has not my son said, I am the resurrection and the life? And so they come, in rain or shine, young and old, rich and poor. Those who are weighed down with infirmity, those who want to express their thanks. They come week after week, in their countless thousands, to the perpetual novena, to the Mother of Perpetual Help. This perpetual novena has been the principal vehicle in making her known to the world. In the little church at Mount St. Alphonsus in Bangalore, the first perpetual novena was started in February 1945. This first ripple of the novena soon became a tidal wave spreading across India and Ceylon. The now famous novena at Mahim, Bombay, started in 1948. Then it was all very new, and people were skeptical. How can a novena last the whole year round, they asked. Soon, however, doubts were dispelled, and the devotion grew. Now, every Wednesday, an estimated 15,000 people attend the novena in 9 sessions. Colombo in Ceylon is another glorious chapter. Borella and novena have become synonymous as thousands go weekly to the Church of All Saints. As Mary gave Christ to the world 2,000 years ago, through the novena she gently leads people to her Son. The fervent become more fervent, the careless turn back to God, and one and all are led to that central event, the holy sacrifice of the Mass, the frequent reception of Holy Communion, benediction of the Blessed Sacrament. Because of the variety of languages in India, the novena had to be translated into the vernaculars. The first vernacular devotion was in Tamil, begun as far back as 1945. But more than 10 years were to pass before Indian Redemptorists could bring the novena to full flowering in their different languages. Today, the booklet containing the prayers and hymns of the novena can be had in many Indian languages as well as in English. Tiruchirappalli, during the centenary celebrations, spoke eloquently of the impact and popularity of the perpetual novena. On July 13th, 1966, this ancient city, seat of the Chola kings, played host to countless thousands from different parts of Tamil Nadu. The occasion was a central centenary event for Tamil-speaking lovers of Sahya Mada, the Mother of Perpetual Help. During the centenary celebrations, spoke eloquently of the impact and popularity of the perpetual novena. On July 13th, 1966, this is to countless thousands from different parts of Tamil Nadu. The occasion was a central centenary event for Tamil-speaking lovers of Sahya Mada, the Mother of Perpetual Help. The event was processing on the 13th. Unprecedented crowds thronged the venue of the celebrations, the Church of the Most Holy Redeemer looking its festive best. With obvious and heartfelt devotion, people took part in the different items of the centenary event. Pontifical concelebration, Marian exhibition, solemn centenary novena devotions. It has indeed been marvelous how the love of Mary has spread throughout India. On feast days, this love flowers forth everywhere. There is a joy in showing love, of using skills and time and energy in building beautiful things to show the joy that love brings. As Mary brought new love to India, so India responded, grateful for her perpetual help. As in every part of the world, we have found her to be a mother to every humble individual in every humble difficulty. She brings peace and meaning into our lives. From her service of perpetual help to us, we too learn how to give our help to others. We too find happiness, for only in helping and loving others can true happiness be realized on earth. And so we in India praise her, with the people of Ceylon, the people of Singapore, the people of the Philippines. With the people of the whole world we praise her, the new Eve who crushes evil, the model for all mankind, the greatest Christian, filled with a spirit of love and dedication to the service of others. We praise God who made her to be the mother of Christ and the mother of all men, full of compassion and sympathy, our Mother of Perpetual Help.